Okay, students, this is a video on some questions on lesson 6. So if you notice over here, I've got, this is the front side of lesson 6 and the back side, um, and a little sample of how to do some of the problems. Now, in this little video, you're going to see my online calculator, and the calculator will look like your calculator, except my keypad's going to be over here at the left side, and my home screen's here. And if you want to follow along, you could see me click the buttons down here at the bottom. So hopefully, you may enjoy a little bit about that. All right, before we get into the lesson, I want to make mention to you of a couple things. And here they are. There's two formulas that you need to know regarding percentile. And this formula right here is one of them. Okay, and this L is standing for the location of the value. So when I talk about location, this is the first number, second number, third number, fourth number. Now, if you notice in this list, I have 10 numbers. So here's an interesting question. Of these 10 numbers, what is the 40th percentile? Well, that's a good question. I'm going to use this formula. P is 40, 40 over 100, okay, times n, which is a number of numbers. In this case, it's 10. And I get the number 4, okay? So 4 is this number right here. Now, there's a couple rules about percentiles. Whenever it's an even number, in other words, there's no decimal, just like you did with the median, you're going to have to average these two numbers to get together. You got to average the fourth number and the next number. So we know that is 12 plus 14 divided by 2, which is 13. Now, what does 13 represent? It's the number that has 40% of the data below it. Okay? So that does make sense. All right, let's try this again. Now in this case, n is 11. So I have 11 numbers, and I want to find the 40th percentile. I'm going to do 40 over 100 times the number of numbers. And now notice what I get. I get a decimal. Whenever I get a decimal number in this procedure, I just round up. Always round up to the next number. So what is that number? 5. That means if I want to locate the 40th percentile, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 12 is the 40th percentile of that data. That's how that works. Okay, so these are questions 1 through 5. 1 through 5 in that set of data that you may or may not have questions about. So let's take a look at number 1. Compute the z-score of an American male who is 225 pounds. Now, notice they gave you of all of the males, that's the mean, and here's the standard deviation. Compute the z-score. So remember, the z-score is equal to the data value minus the mean over the standard deviation. So in this case, the z-score for 225 pounds over the standard deviation is going to be this number 1.057. I have that right here, 1.057. All right, let's look at question number 3. What weight corresponds to a z-score of 1.7? What weight corresponds to a z-score of 1.7? You're just going to go z All right, well, z is 1.7, and standard deviation down here at the bottom was 27.9. We don't know the data value, but we know the mean. Okay, So there's a couple ways to solve this for x. The easiest way to do this is just make a proportion here and cross multiply. What's this times this? Whatever that value is, let's just say x minus 195.5. Let's just say it's like 43 point something, okay? How would I get x by itself? You're going to add the 195 over there. So that's how to find the data value. In this case, it's going to be 242.93. Okay. All right. Now let's go to the next page of problems. Okay. In this particular set of problems, and I think this is where some of you had a difficulty, you had to look at the data, find the quartiles, the outliers, and then find the percentiles, and then find out what number is what percentile. So we'll do a little bit of this information. Okay, I went back to my calculator and I hit stat, my editor. Now I'm going to put these values in there. I think the first value is 6414. Okay. Now I'm going to add all of my data values in there. Okay. Now all my data values are in this L1. Okay. And again, I showed you before in a previous video how to, see all your numbers. Okay, now we're going to ask the calculator to do a statistical procedure on this. I'm just going to hit second quit. I like to clear my screen, okay? I'm going to go stat, calc, one variable statistics. Now, if you don't have this little wizard, don't worry about it. Just make sure that you indicate the list is in L1, which it is. To find L1, you hit second one on your calculator. Okay. Anyway, long story short. So I hit one variable statistics, and notice this is my mean, 85.96. I'm scrolling down. There are 35 numbers in there. The minimum's 150. Q1 is 3,200. The median is 6414. Q3 is 10012. And there's your maximum. So there's some good information for you in the statistic, one variable statistic calculation. Okay, another thing that would be helpful for you is to be able to put L1 in order. And like I showed you in that other video, the way to do that is to go to your list editor. And what you want to do is you want to go to operations and select the first one there, sort a list in order. And you want to sort L1, second one for L1. And lo and behold, it'll take those numbers and put them in order. Now, how do you know that? Go to your statistical editor and notice they're now in order. That's a real helpful thing to know. Remember, if you scroll down, you're seeing, for example, this means the fifth number is 2750. Folks, that is a good that's the good stuff. Okay. Okay, let's continue with our with our work here. So find the first and third quartiles. We just did that. We found the first and we found the third. Compute the interquartile range, which is just their difference. That's 6812. Number 8, compute the upper and lower outer boundaries. What that means is, if this is Q1, this is Q1, and this is Q3, there is a spot right here, a boundary, that if a number was any more, maybe it doesn't even make any sense, okay? So we're going to call that a boundary. It's kind of like this. Your friend said, I caught a 8-inch trout. I caught a 10-inch trout the next day. And then the third day says, I caught a 25-inch trout. you're thinking that that number may be just a little bit too much of a fish story, okay? Now, so let's find out what this boundary is. The way to do that is you go Q3 plus 1.5 times the interquartile range. Okay, if you'll plug those numbers in, you'll get the following numbers. The upper boundary will be 20,000, the lower boundary negative 7,000. Now that doesn't even make sense because all of these numbers are about community college enrollment and you can't have a negative enrollment. The question really is, are there any numbers that are outliers? Okay, that's question 9. Are there any numbers that are outliers? Well, let's see. Is there a number that's higher than 20,000? Here's one right here, 28. Okay. Here's another number, 27. Okay. I think there's maybe one more number, is there? Yeah, look at this number right here. Okay. Of course, you could have found that out by looking at your calculator now that they're in order. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, number next. Okay, what is the 85th percentile? So let's do this problem here. Or let's try to, okay? You're going to use this formula. Okay, the location is equal to the percent you're looking for, which is 85 over 100 times the number of numbers. Now we know there are 35 community college colleges, so when I multiply all of that out, of course I did that right here, I get 29.75. Now what did I tell you when we have a decimal? You round up to the next number, which is what? 30. The 30th. So you're trying to find the 30th number. I went back to my calculator and I went up and down and I scrolled and I found the 30th number, and that value is 17,500. Okay, so that's the 85th percentile. Notice question 11, what is the 40th percentile? Well, I do this again and notice I get this number 14. That is a whole number. So remember, you got to take the 14th number and the 15th number, add them, divide by 2. Okay, here you go. You have the 14th and the 15th number. You're going to average these two numbers together. Okay, and when I do that, I did that over here. When I do that, I get the number 5787.5. All right, let's finish it up here at 12 or 13. Let's do 12. One college had enrollment of 6357. What percentile is this? So remember the little formula. Okay, so here we go. Remember, to find the percentile, you find the number of values that are lower than that value plus 0.5 over the total number of numbers. Okay, well, let's see. If we had a little time, we can go back to that list here. Okay, and notice this number is 6357. We're going to have to go back up here. Okay. It is the 17th number, so there's 16 that are lower than it. There are 16 that are lower. Okay, trying to get back to my deal here. So there are 16 that are lower, plus 0.5 over the total number, which is 35. Okay, of course I did that right here. Okay, and when I multiply that, I get 0.47 something. And what I want you to do is just round to the nearest integer. Nearest integer, and that's what you need to do. Okay, folks, one last item. This had to do with the price of houses, and there were several related questions. Last one home was assessed at 321,794. What percentile is this? When I worked through that whole problem, I ended up with 88.75. The nearest integer is 89. That should have been 89%, and it said 88%. So mark that correction. All right, I hope this does help you in lesson number 6.